All right, guys. Hey, Dr. Gary here, and it is 7:01 p.m. We should have some people joining in with us now, and we're hoping for no technological challenges tonight. So, just going to give everybody a couple minutes to jump on here. I see a few people joining in right now, and hello to everybody who's joining in. Just please make sure that when you come on, you mute your computer, your voice. Just going to give everybody a minute or so. So those of you who are joining in tonight, we're going to get started here in just a couple minutes with Eat, Move, and Think Well. And this is the first of 4 webinars that we're going to be covering. We've started, most of you, I think, who are going to be joining in tonight are part of the Accountability Project, a 30-day project that was put together by Dr. Chris Thornell. And we're going to have a great time with it. We're off to a wonderful start with it. So it's not too late for you to get other people involved in that group. So invite them to the group through Facebook and share the information. The more people we get involved, the more energy we bring, the more fun we'll have with it. So everybody's coming on now. Hello, 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 hello. Just please make sure you mute, and I hope everybody can hear me okay. All right, so I'm going to get us going here, off and running. Give me just a second here. All right. Everybody get their water in today? Did you get your movement in today? All right, so you see me, I see some of you. I'm going to pop in our closed captioning. We do have a deaf population of patients who should be joining in, and hopefully our closed captioning is working just fine right now. All right, so this webinar series that we're going to do, it is called Eat, Move, and Think Well. It is a lifestyle strategy program. And really, we decided to do this right now because it ties in very nicely with our Better in 30, our accountability project. Also, we're coming through this period of time, this quarantine time, where our entire society has been thrown into a tailspin. Some of us have not been working. We've lost jobs. The economy's changed. We're stressed out. Some of us have been hunkered down at home, scared and nervous, and really not doing much outdoors. We've been sedentary. We've been eating a lot of processed foods. And across the board, I've talked to people who have just put on a lot of weight during this time due to the stress, being sedentary, and just eating some crappy foods because we're stress eating. So I thought about this, and I wanted to kind of tie this into losing that 15 pounds that a lot of people gained during this period of time, and really not losing it, but getting rid of it through some healthy habits. So we're going to talk about getting 15 pounds healthier in 15 weeks. It's pretty simple, right? 15 pounds, it's a pound a week. So I'm going to give you some strategies tonight. Tonight, we're going to set the table, literally set the table for the next 4 weeks for the accountability project and for the next upcoming webinars. Tonight's going to be really an overview of everything. Next week, we're going to dive deep into nutrition. The following week, we're going to dive deep into movement. And the week after that, we're going to dive deep into thoughts, how we think, and how that influences our health. I will be bringing in some panelists, some guest speakers as well as we go along. So I hope you all enjoy this. I hope you get a lot of great information out of it. And without further ado, let's dive in, getting 15 pounds healthier in 15 weeks through our accountability project. All right, so title of this program called Bonfire, Ignite Your Health. When you think about having a bonfire in your yard or at the beach or in a field, there's some elements, some things that are required in order for us to have the perfect recipe for the perfect bonfire. We need fuel. We need fuel for that fire. Without air, that fire doesn't get stoked and have these beautiful flames, and we need a spark to begin it all. So our fuel is how we fuel our body, how we eat, the things that we put into our body. Unfortunately, in today's world, we put sometimes less than optimal food into our body and we expect high performance. You know, we can only do that for so long. If you think about fuel, and if you had your ideal dream car, your dream vehicle, Lamborghini, Porsche, whatever it might be, you're not going to put poor quality fuel and oil in that vehicle. You're going to put top-notch everything. You're going to do preventative maintenance. You're going to be doing oil changes, everything in advance. Well, our bodies need fuel. It needs top-notch, high-quality fuel, rocket fuel, so that it can keep up with the demands of the energy that we're required to output every day. So our body also needs to move. We're designed to move. We're not designed to be sedentary. We are not designed to be humans living in captivity. We are designed to move. So our movement is key and it needs to be functional. So we're going to dive in. We're going to talk about functional movements. And then spark that ignites everything, are our thought processes, our relationships, how we approach our day, how we problem solve, how we do everything that will influence how our body functions, what our physiology is like, all starts up here, how we think. So that's our bonfire. And this is our approach, right? So tonight's the overview. Then we're going to dive into each of these topics individually, okay? So here we go. All right, so the objective in this 30-day period, or this 4 weeks that are coming up and beyond to the 15-week, what's the objective? You know, is the goal just to lose weight? And if it is, I'll ask you this question. What do we want to do to the things that we tend to lose? We lose things, we tend to want to find them again. So whenever we set out to lose weight, that tends to be short term, and we tend to find that weight somewhere again down the road. So when we're talking about, if you want to lose weight, great. Let's talk about getting rid of it and not inviting it back. Let's not find it down the road. Let's just get rid of it. So do you want to avoid disease? Well, you can't avoid disease. You don't want to set goals based on negative connotations. You want to create health, not just avoid disease. What about increasing your strength and speed as we age, right? These are things that we need to get worked on consistently, or we naturally start to slow down and age prematurely. So do you want to increase your strength, your speed, your stamina, your performance? Is there something, an event that you're training for? Is it a mud run? Is it a 5K? Is it a triathlon? What is it? Is there something, or is it just the game of life that you want to be prepared for and you want to perform well for? Do you want to increase your capacity, your ability to function under stress? What is it that you want to create during these 30 days? You have to know your why, or you're not going to follow through with things. You will find excuses. That's a big reason why I risked it all today, and I put out there for us for our day 2. I put out there for us how to organize our time, because often what happens is in our day-to-day life and routine, we have urgency that creeps in. Other people's demands on time and energy and schedule that creeps into our daily life. And what ends up happening is we put us on the back burner. We put us, our needs, our self-care aside to handle the urgency, to handle the crisis. And who suffers for that is us. Weeks and months down the road, we look at ourselves, we feel older, we feel achier, we're run down, we're tired, we look in the mirror, we got bags under our eyes, we've put on 10 pounds, and before we know it, it's 15 or 20. So we have to understand, what's the why? Why do you want better health? Why do you want to create optimal health? Well, first we need to look at the definition of what optimal health is. When you ask people in your life, and you think about this yourself, what does it mean for me to be healthy? How would I define that? And the sad part of it is a lot of people will define being healthy as getting up out of bed each morning, opening my eyes, putting one foot on the floor, not having any pain, not having any medication that I'm taking. And if you think about and listen to the definitions that they give to you, you're going to find that they are either or. I'm sick one day or healthy the next day, or I'm not in pain or I don't have symptoms. That is furthest thing from the truth about what optimal health is. So let me give this to you. You know, as we go along through these workshops, you might want to keep a little journal, a little notebook. A lot of times when we do these workshops live, I'm passing out note packets for everybody to take notes in. And I truly, the technology is great, but man, I thrive having an audience in front of me. I love interacting with everybody. And this just makes it a little more challenging, but we're going to make the best of it. So you should have a notebook as we go along, write down some things. You can post questions in here later on, or even in the accountability group, and we'll handle them. We'll talk about them. But optimal health is defined as a state of optimal physical, mental, and social well-being. We could even add into that spiritual well-being, not just the absence of disease and infirmity. The key part is the last part. Just because we don't have symptoms or illness doesn't mean that we're healthy. And the sad state of affairs is that we all know people who felt well, they felt fine, they felt great one day, and then all of the sudden, diagnosed with cancer. All of the sudden, heart attack. The sad reality is, for almost 36 or 37% of people, their very first symptom of heart disease is a fatal heart attack. So we don't want to base our health on how we feel. It feels good to feel good. Heck yeah. But we have to make sure we're living and doing the right lifestyle to support feeling well over the long term. Okay. So think about optimal health, and then think about what your goals are and why. That's going to help drive your actions as we go along through this program. Okay, so optimal health. Now you can measure as we go along. You can have improved function, biomarkers. You can do blood work if you want. You can do body composition if you want. You can do waist to hip ratio. You might time yourself an event, a race, 5K, a bike distance, a hike, your stamina, your endurance, your time. You might decide it's based on how your pants are fitting you. You have an old pair of jeans that you want to fit back into and you want to look good in, utilize that as your measuring stick. Have something to monitor your progress as you go along if the goal is weight loss. Now, there's some great tools you can use at home. If you go to Amazon.com, there's a nice scale that you can purchase. If you don't have one for home, it's called an Omron scale, O-M-R-O-N, Omron, and it does body composition. It will give you lean body mass. It will give you body mass index. It will tell you how much body fat, how much water, all the different things that you could possibly monitor. And then you can check in with that regularly. Simple little tool. It's around $70 if you want to do that. But the goal here, ultimately, remember, is to look good, to feel great, but really to function better. Long term for us, optimal health is really about function. It's not about having what we call mirror muscles, a six-pack. Those look great, okay? Everybody likes nice biceps and a six-pack. But listen, if the muscles aren't functional, if you can't do the things that you need to do to stay strong and remain active over your lifetime, they really don't matter. A lot of times people get hung up in the gym doing workouts on a machine. And that's great if you go through life in a machine or on a machine. Doesn't help you in functional activities, in weight bearing and gravity. We want you to be active in weight bearing and gravity. You don't need any fancy equipment. You don't need a gym membership to get healthy, fit, and strong. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we go. This is all about simplicity. It's all about simplistic lifestyle. So optimal health, what is your why? Let's rewind a little bit and let's go back in time. We're going to go back to our hunter-gatherer ancestors, okay? As you know, at one time we were hunters and gatherers. We had to work really hard for our food. We ate small, frequent meals throughout the day. And oftentimes when we came across a meal, a bush of berries, a fresh kill, after working really hard to find that food, we didn't know when the next meal was going to come. We didn't have a refrigerator to store that food. So what happens is our brain is trained to consume whatever is in front of us, okay? So we didn't have a place that we could store the food and go back to. These calories were not readily available to us. By nature, we're omnivores. Yes, a very large portion of our diet should be plant-based, but we should also be eating some good, high-quality cuts of meat, lean meats that are, preferably grass-fed, grass-finished, free-range, wild, all in their natural habitat whenever possible. So our body, as I mentioned, is designed to store energy because it didn't know when that next meal was going to come. It's designed to conserve energy as well, again, because there were points in time where we didn't have that next bush, that next kill, where our body needed to conserve its energy so it didn't continually go into starvation mode. That's what our genetic programming is. We literally have Paleolithic genes, okay, living in a modern world. So in our modern world today, take a look at what we're looking at and what we're seeing in America. 2/3 of our American adults are overweight and obese. By 2022, 80% are expected to be overweight. Being overweight is becoming the #1 preventable disease. Now you look at what's going on these past few months with coronavirus, and you look and see the people who were immunocompromised and most at risk for susceptibility to infection and death resulting. These are people who had immune compromises. And guess what's at the heart of all of those? That diabetes, heart disease, cancers. What's at the heart of all of it is a chronic low-grade inflammation that results from being obese, okay? Now, these are things, the killer part of this, the tragic part of it is that that's something that we have influence over and we can change. So the human and financial costs to our healthcare system, to our workforce, to our family members is just staggering, and that's growing every year right now. We're going to see ripple effects. The more our populations throughout the world, I'm going to show you some staggering stuff here in a couple minutes. The more the populations throughout the world continue to grow, literally grow towards obesity, the more demands it's going to put on our economy and our healthcare system. So some facts here. Again, some of this is background stuff. A lot of it you guys are familiar with, so just hang in there with me. Obesity leads to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance leads to diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is lifestyle oriented. You can change that just like you create it with a lifestyle. You can change it with a lifestyle. You are not doomed to a life of medications and obesity if you truly want to change it. It will contribute to cancer, accelerated aging, premature aging, decreased quality of life, and a decreased length of life. These are things we have control over based on what we put into our mouth and how we move our body and what our lifestyle's like. Why wouldn't we change it and take control of it? So, increased bad cholesterol and a decrease in the good cholesterol. Increased in triglycerides. Those are fats that are in the blood. So the higher those triglycerides are, the more chances we have of the bad cholesterol rising as well. This all makes our heart work harder, so our blood pressure goes up. Add to that our stresses of everyday life. Boom. Perfect storm. Increases heart disease. Okay. By the year 2030, look at this, 90% of our population is expected to be overweight or obese if we do not change right now. Now, living in the 21st century, in today's world, our modern world is unnaturally stressful. You see, if we go back to our hunter-gatherer days, the stressors that we had were brief points in time of starvation, but also being chased by a wild animal. That chase that we were involved in to save our life, fight or flight, from a wild animal was short term. Once we escaped the danger, our body re-regulated itself and went back to normal functioning. Well, today's wild animals are economy, jobs, finances, healthcare, relationships, the demands on our time 24 hours a day, being connected to the globe and people having access to us through this little device 24 hours a day. Stress levels through the roof. So our body is in constant fight or flight. And so what happens when we're in constant fight or flight, I'm going to go through the actual physiology in the body and how that leads to fat storage in our body and ultimately compromising our immune system. So we have energy-dense foods that are readily available. We have a lot of access to processed foods, to fast foods that are super high in calories. They're energy-dense, but they're nutrient deficient, most of them. And so we're consuming those things with having to expend very little energy. And you think about this, we could go out almost any door from your home or work or wherever and find a fast food restaurant. We can pull up to the window at the fast food restaurant, push a button down, because we don't have to roll the windows down anymore. We push a button, the window goes down automatically. We speak into a little box and we order the combo meal number 5. We drive up 15 or 20 feet in a matter of 30 to 45 seconds. We have a meal. We first off give them a card, they swipe. They hand us a meal, a bag that's probably about 1,500 to 2,000 calories in some cases, that sometimes is eaten, it's consumed before we even leave the parking lot. So we just got 2,000 calories, let's say. That's a daily intake of calories, and we probably had to expend 25 or 30 calories to get that, and that's generous, probably not even that much. We had to expend very little amount of energy to get that energy dense food that's nutrient deficient. Is it any wonder why our waistlines are continuing to grow and our health is being compromised? Should not be a shock or a surprise to anybody. That's nutritional pollution. Okay, the food industry certainly doesn't help. You look at the marketing, you look at the chemicals. There's foods, chemicals that are in the processed foods that are excitotoxins. They create an economy in the brain that craves more of that thing. That's marketing. Okay, that's what we've been sold. You go in a grocery store. If you're in the grocery store, the middle of the store, that's all processed foods. Some of them, yeah, you can get away with eating and they're good. Some of them are just garbage. But we're filling our faces with a lot of that processed stuff, nutritional pollution. We should be shopping around the perimeter. We'll talk about that in the nutrition class. But healthy, inexpensive foods most often are not readily available. When someone can go in and get a Happy Meal for $3, or they can go get a banana and a bottle of water for $4 or $5. Sometimes you can feed a family on a lot less money if you're buying fast food and processed foods. It's just not good. It's not right. So we need to change our thinking, our processes, and we need to really seek out healthy foods whenever possible. They should be whole foods whenever possible. So today also we have more human energy saving devices, more things that do physical labor for us than what we ever had. So in the past, for instance, when I lived up north, everybody had a snowblower. No one went out and shoveled anymore. So in the past, you would have to go out and expend energy to do some work. Now we kind of sit back. We have all these devices and conveniences of technology that do the work for us. So there's so many opportunities for us to conserve energy, but yet we're getting extra energy in through our food, and our waistlines are growing. It's contributing to bad health. The more progressive our sedentary lifestyles become. So here's a visual of what I just talked with you about, right? Over time, as we age, our calories are increasing, our calories in are increasing, our calories out are decreasing. What is that left with? If we're not burning those calories off, what do those calories get stored as? Yes, you guessed it, body fat, okay? We need to reverse the ratios. Our calories in have to be less than our calories out, and that fat accumulation, that can burn off, okay? So let's look at this, the result of the growing waistline, the processed foods, and the impact on our health. So this is tied into body mass index. Now, a couple of things for you. You can write these down. You can go on Google if you want, type in body mass index calculator. It will give you ranges based on, you can plug in your height and your weight. It will tell you what your BMI is, a rough range, and it will give you, whether you're, in the normal range, overweight or obese or morbidly obese. So give you all those ranges. And that's an okay indicator. Body composition definitely is better. So you have an accurate ratio of lean body mass and fat mass. But check this out here. In the bottom left corner of this diagram, right, we have, first off, we're going through our life. We've been brought up in a culture that says if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If there's no symptoms, hey, we must be healthy. That's wrong. We already gave you the example of that with the heart attack, heart disease. 36% to 37% of people, first symptom is a fatal heart attack. So we don't want to base our health on how we feel. So here we are going along through our everyday life in our modern, unnaturally stressful world, working our tails off 50, 60, 70 hours a week, not really sleeping great. We're not exercising. We're consuming food on the run because we don't have time to shop, cook, plan, and prepare at home. So we're eating on the go. Now, we start feeling not so great. Maybe our digestion's upset. Maybe we start to take some antacids and things like that. Our sleep now starts to get disrupted because we're plugged into the blue light, right? Blue light plugged in the eyeballs 24 hours a day, right up until bedtime, until we're hopping in beds, keeping our brain stimulated. So now that combined with our sedentary lifestyle and our poor diet, we're not sleeping well. One of the most natural things that we should and can be doing is now a multi-billion-dollar industry for the pharmaceutical companies, right? Sleep medications. So it's mind-boggling to me when people are not sleeping well and relying on a medication and yet not changing their lifestyle. So anyway, here we are, poor sleep, our digestion's bad, we're taking over-the-counter medications. Now we might be taking a sleep aid. We might start with melatonin or something like that. That will kind of advance to something different that's now a prescription. Now what happens as we're on these medications, our physiology is changing. We're covering up, we're masking symptoms, we're ignoring things so we can go on with the same lifestyle that's doing damage to us. It's no different than getting in your car tonight, leaving work or going out to the grocery store, and you see your oil light come on. It's no different than taking a piece of tape and putting it over the oil light and pretending the oil light's not on and you continue to drive your vehicle. That's what we're doing with our bodies. And I give you that analogy and you're like, that's ridiculous. Well, that's exactly what we do. So we go now, we're on these medications, masking our symptoms, our blood pressure's going up. Oh, here, take this. This will bring your blood pressure down. So if I bring my blood pressure down through a magic little pill, I think that I'm okay now, but I've done nothing to change my lifestyle. So now over time, my waistline's growing. I'm not sleeping well. My body's not processing foods properly because I'm eating crappy foods. I'm not digesting properly. My blood sugars now are out of balance. And what happens? My insulin sensitivity is off. Guess what happens? I'm pre-diabetic, then diabetic. Type 2 diabetes, lifestyle disease, preventable and reversible through lifestyle. But now what happens after I'm diabetic? Now that's going to put over time, again, I'm on medications, masking things. That's going to put over time a little more stress on my heart because I'm carrying extra weight, not exercising. My heart's working harder. My blood pressure's going up. Typically what happens is one of these three things, well, this is the order typically. I'm pre-diabetic, then diabetic. Then I'm diagnosed with high blood pressure, so blood pressure medication. And then usually what follows a couple years later is a cholesterol medication, a statin medication. Okay. Now it can go reverse as well. It could start off with having some blood pressure issues that lead to cholesterol. And then over time, because I still haven't changed my lifestyle, I now have diabetes. Okay. Think about this from everything that you're hearing in the news these past couple months. Everybody's talking about hydroxychloroquine. Everybody's talking about the vaccine that's going to come save the day. Not one health expert, so-called expert, is up there telling you you should be outside exercising, getting fresh air, sunlight, consuming omega-3 fatty acids, consuming, a good probiotic, a good multivitamin, digestive enzymes, eating whole foods, right? Lifestyle strategies. They're looking at some silver bullet, some magic knight on a white horse to ride in and save the day, aka a vaccine. It's not happening. Okay, there's already plenty of that coming out in the news right now. Anyway, I'm getting off track a little bit. Let's get back to obesity. So the downstream conditions of obesity, we've talked about heart disease, diabetes, cancers. Yes, cancers. All right. One of the things that we have to understand is that when we are obese, we're overweight, we're obese, when we have extra adipose, extra fat on our body, we are sick, we're not healthy. Let me make the case for that now, okay? Because what we're doing in our society, in our country, and how we're approaching overweight and obesity, it's not working. We're jumping and we're yo-yoing from one diet to the next. We're doing paleo one day, keto one day, the zone one day, intermittent fasting one day. We're doing slim fast shakes over here. We're looking for the quick fix instead of a lifestyle change. Now, some of the things that we're going to go over, they're going to align with certain quote unquote diet types, but I don't want you to think of getting locked into a certain diet. I want you to think of a lifestyle choice, eating whole foods. Okay, we're going to talk in detail about that, but what we have to recognize is what we've been doing right now to improve our health is not working. Every person should be under regular chiropractic care from the moment they're born. So throughout pregnancy, moms should be getting checked and adjusted to ensure a healthy nerve supply from the brain to the body, to help that developing baby develop perfectly, deliver perfectly, and that baby should be getting checked and adjusted from the moment they're born throughout their life. Aside from that, we should be moving regularly, exercising, moving regularly, eating good, whole, healthy foods 80% of the time. 20% of the time we can indulge. We'll get to that, so that we're not caught up in moving from one diet to the next diet. Okay, that does not work. It creates more health problems down the road. So again, that having the extra adipose, the fat, is a symptom that your body's physiology is out of balance. Your hormone balance is off. So the extra adiposity or extra body fat is a symptom of a chronic hormone imbalance. And I'll go through this with you in a second, but hormones and enzymes, that they regulate our body fat storage. So you have to, and you can only regain that hormone balance through specific lifestyle choices. There's no magic bullet here, my friends, okay? It's consistency over time, small steps that build on one another, okay, over time, the process of time. That's everybody's least favorite because we want a quick fix, okay? 30 days that we're doing right now, the 30-day, the accountability project, Better in 30, is all about small habits, one building on the one before. That's it. And that's the secret, okay? Now, specific lifestyle changes and choices that directly impact your hormone balance. So if we ever want to get control of things, to shed any extra weight, it's pretty simple, okay? So the perfect hormonal storm: we're eating toxic and deficient foods. We're not creating sufficiency and purity with our foods. We're creating or consuming toxic and deficient foods, nutritionally depleted foods most often. So there's an energy imbalance that we talked about. Our calories in are way higher than our calories out, so we're accumulating fat. Our lives are sedentary. They've been more sedentary for a lot of people over these past couple of months because the entire globe has been shut down. Our country's been shut down. So a lot more people have been sedentary. Now, some people, if you've been following along with some of your chiropractors, not just me, but your chiropractors or health and wellness experts posts over these past couple of months, many of you are coming out of this quarantine healthier than what you went into it, and bravo to you, okay? So that energy imbalance is a result of consuming too many calories, having a sedentary lifestyle, excessive calorie intakes. Add to that the chronic social stresses that we've had between the COVID pandemic, work, the economy, right? All of these factors layered upon, one another lead to that chronic stress, that chronic state of fight or flight in the body. That disrupts our sleep. That tends to make us fatigued and exhausted. No matter how much sleep you get, you just feel tired and run down, okay? That's all your body telling you that it's fatigued. That stress response has been kicked into high gear for too long, and your body now is saying, I can't do it anymore. I'm exhausted. I need help. So you got to tune in. You got to learn how to listen to your body. So how do we regain control of the hormones? Number one, it starts with good quality foods. Over these 30 days, I want you to challenge yourself to eat as many whole foods as possible. Try to limit the number of processed foods, limit the amount of sugar, caffeine, flours, all this, the things that will contribute to sensitivities, allergens, weight gains, things of that nature. I'll give you that list again later, but high quality food, preferably whole food. Food quantity also. Even if we're eating good, whole, healthy foods, we still have to look at quantity of what we're eating. So make sure you're looking at portion sizes. Not that you have to measure your foods out. Use your hands in your plate as a way to figure out what you should be eating. Your protein source should be 4 to 6 ounces, about the size of the palm of your hand, right? Half of your plate should be vegetables, right? Pretty simple stuff. We'll go through this a little bit further, but it's not rocket science. It's just real simple common sense. I don't want you measuring things out. But your food rhythms, how often are you eating? Are you eating small, frequent meals throughout the day? Are you eating one meal throughout the day? Are you intermittent fasting, where you're going for 6, 12, 18 hours or longer without food and then consuming food during a small window of the day? So what are the rhythms and timings of your food? What are your activity levels? How much energy are you expending each day? I love so far in our accountability project, I love seeing everybody's smartwatches. Everybody's posting in there their workouts, how many steps they did, how many calories they burned. It's great technology. We can use that for good, and we can help those pieces of technology can help motivate us to stay on track with what we're doing, with what our goals are. Keeps us accountable. It will give us reminders. Hey, get up and move. Hey, breathe. You're stressed out. Breathe. Go walk. You got to stand some more. Good reminders. Okay. The other thing we have to look at is our stress levels, our social stress levels from work, family, relationships, peers, being out and about in public. What are those stress levels like, and how can we reduce and eliminate them? Now, first and foremost, what we have to understand is that stress is not going anywhere until we are dead and buried. And stress is good in some ways to develop our body so our body can adapt and get stronger. But chronic, prolonged stress is no good at all for any of us, and it really destroys our health and quality of life. Next category here is our sleep patterns. One of the simplest, easiest things that we can do is get a consistent sleep-wake cycle. That is just like starting off day one in our accountability project by drinking more water. Get more sleep, get regular sleep, that's consistent sleep-wake time. Those two things will do more good for you and give you a fresher perspective on life and the world and your problems than almost anything else that you can do. Okay, start with those, sleep and water. All right, so these are the things that we need to look at in order to regain the balance of our hormones in the body. So let's go through some of the top 5 lies that we tell ourselves. Okay, first one, weight problems run in my family. Well, weight problems most often are not genetic, and the problem is not that weight problems run in your family. The problem most often is that nobody runs in your family. Okay, so we're going to look at that one. The second one, just eat less and you'll lose weight. So what do we see? We see people that will end up starving themselves, and what happens is they become smaller, fatter versions of themselves. They didn't put on any lean muscle mass. In fact, they actually got rid of some of their muscle mass and they retained body fat. The body went into starvation mode. I'll just work it off at the gym. Well, that's another lie, because you can never out-train a bad diet. You can never out-train your fork. Doesn't happen. You can consume a ton of energy-dense food really quickly and easily. I gave you the example of the drive-through, fast food. You can consume that really quickly, and then you go spend 30 minutes or 60 minutes on the treadmill or go for a run, or you do a CrossFit workout, and you're like, dang, I burned 400 calories. I consumed 2,000 calories at lunch. I only burned 400 with that workout. Whoa. So calories can be consumed in abundance, but they take time to burn off. So there's an economy of calories, right? Calories in have to be less than calories out. All right. I'll just work it off at the gym. Again, you cannot out-train a bad diet, so that's not going to happen. Calories are calories. So let me ask you something. Some nutrition or health experts will say, just count calories. A calorie is a calorie. You can eat whatever you want. To a degree, some of that's true because it's simple arithmetic and math. But let me ask you a question. The content and quality of a calorie is different in, let's say, a carrot than what it is in a Twinkie. Can we agree on that? Can I get an amen on that? Absolutely. Okay. So what is in the calorie is important. The content and quality of the food that you're eating is vitally important. I'll give you a couple examples of that as well. And then sleep has nothing to do with it. Well, that's another lie to tell yourself. Sleep has everything to do with it. If you are not sleeping, if your body's stressed out, if it's fatigued, guess what it's going to do? It's going to store body fat primarily around your midsection. So let's dive in. So weight problems run in my family, and you heard my tongue-in-cheek response. The problem is nobody runs in your family, right? Genes and body composition. We have been told it's in my genes. It's in my genes. It's in my genes. BS. It's not in your genes. Your genes are only 28% of your overall health picture. Your genes will get turned on and turned off. That is a field called epigenetics. Cool, fascinating field. Epigenetics are the environment and lifestyle factors that determine which genes get turned on and turned off. Guess what? You have control, a large influence over which ones get turned on and turned off based on your lifestyle and your environment. You have primary control of that, okay? Stop telling yourself that lie. Okay, now check this out. This is some mind-blowing stuff. I just want to give you some background information. These charts, these maps are directly from the CDC website. This goes back to 1980. You can find them back as far as 1985 on the CDC website, but our country over this period of time, you have a little graph down the bottom of the page, okay? And this is body mass index. Okay, now I see that my graph is a little off down here, but when you look at the graph, the color, the white section, the clear box, that's not having anybody with a BMI that's in the obese range. Now, if you look at 1990, we're doing okay as a country. We're starting to get some darker areas there where the BMI is creeping up, but then fast forward to 1998, look what's happening in our country, where our BMI is increasing significantly. Fast forward to 2006. Whoa, look at that. Now, let's go forward. to 2018. Look at this. Our BMI obesity throughout our country. From the time period that I showed you, 1990 to 2018, our genes did not change in that time. They did not change. We have Paleolithic genes. Our genes are tens of thousands of years old that our body's currently running on. This is not a genetic thing that's happening, people. This is a lifestyle and environmental thing that's happening. Now watch this. This is a global map of the obesity trend that's happening. I'm going to play this for you. You can find this on YouTube, okay? Watch, same thing, the obesity trend throughout the globe. Watch how this map lights up for us. Starting in the 70s, and you have your BMI index down here for obesity. Now, through this time period, what's happening through globalization, we are exporting our Western diet to the rest of the world. We're shipping out Coca-Cola, Pepsi, candy, sugars, all kinds of processed foods throughout the globe. You know, there's not one country on the planet that struggled with malnutrition that did not have an importation of Western foods. That malnourished country ended up as an obese country on this map. There's not one country that successfully went from malnutrition to healthy. They went from malnutrition to obesity. And you look at that map again, very quickly here. Watch this light up throughout the world. Now, this is this is an epidemic. This is a pandemic. This is what we should be putting our attention on, because the impact of these choices, lifestyle choices and environment that we're consuming day in and day out, is literally killing us throughout the globe. Major tolls on our economy, our healthcare system, and it's growing every single year. By the year 2050, more than 50% of our population, global population, is expected to be diabetic. Okay, this map runs to 2014, but look at that, it's staggering. Okay, so what's changed in that time? Not our genes, our environment and lifestyle change. It's how we eat, how we move, and how we think has changed. Our environment, our relationships, our choices, and what's available to us has changed during that time. It's not our genes. Our genes have not changed. Are we clear on that? Our genes have not changed. It is not in your genes. That's a lie. Okay. Big lie number 2, just eat less and you'll lose weight. That is not sustainable. Listen, try to hold your breath as long as you can. At some point, you're going to give in and breathe, right? It's the same thing with depriving yourself of food. Your body goes into a starvation mode. It changes your metabolism. Your body thinks it needs to survive and protect itself. So what does it do? It stores body fat. It will start to catabolize. It will eat your muscle for energy and keep the body fat, because the body fat has higher energy. It wants to maintain that. It's short term and takes you on yo-yo. You can do anything to lose 10 pounds. There's the cookie diet, the cabbage diet, the potato diet, the bear diet. You name it, you can do anything to lose 10 pounds. Guess what? You're going to find it, again, pretty quickly, and usually with a couple extra friend pounds that come along with it. Okay? This is short term. Food deprivation does not work. We need to eat more and move more to solve the problem. Number 3, calories. We talked about this a little bit, but we have toxic food choices, sedentary lifestyle, social stresses. But the toxic food choices, look at this. We've built a country on a pyramid, a food pyramid that's wrong, that tells us to eat all of these grains, very little bits of fruit, vegetables, and meats, okay? And hardly any fats. At one point in time, fat was the bad guy. Don't eat any fat, it's killing you. Not true. We need good, healthy, an abundance of good, healthy fats in our diet, okay? And our food pyramid is a big factor that's contributed to the lies that have led to obesity. Here's what we look at and what we should have. On the right is our industrialized modern human, eating a high refined carbohydrate, low fat, low protein, or no red meat diet. And there's sugar almost in everything that they consume, leading to the health issues that we've been talking about, versus our wild hunter-gatherer friend who's eating a high complex carbohydrate diet, low to moderate good fats, high protein diets, no refined foods, no sugars, starches, flours, things of that nature, no dairy. Sugar's a huge thing. Write this down. Nancy Appleton. 126 ways sugar destroys your health. Google that, okay? Look at the list of things that pop up. You can also look at sugar consumption from the turn of the century in 1900 to today. And the amount of sugar that a person consumed back at the turn of the century in 1900 versus the amount of sugar that is consumed by someone today. It's a major factor in all of these players with obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and cancers. Okay. Poor quality food fails, right? Toxic choices, deficient choices. We have most often toxic and deficient lifestyles. The only way to fix that, the only way is with sufficiency and purity in thoughts and movements in foods over time. Slow and steady change over time, okay? Now, the hormonal impact on our body of all these these processed toxic foods messes with our insulin, our glucagon, and our cortisol. Those are our hormones for fat storage. Insulin's a fat storage hormone. Elevated insulin locks us into fat storage. What causes elevated insulin? Our food choices, our sugars and refined carbohydrates, the fast carbohydrates. Dairy will contribute as well. It leads to energy imbalances. We've talked about calories in are way higher than calories out. So over time, that combined with the sedentary lifestyle and the processed foods causes us to store more body fat. So one of the things to look at when you're consuming your foods is glycemic index. Glycemic index is comparing, a food to, let's say, a spoonful of sugar that would have a glycemic index of 100. So those foods, the lower the glycemic index is that you consume, the less impact they have on your blood sugar, the less spikes they have. If you eat a candy bar, right, you give a kid a candy bar, they're going to be bouncing off the walls. They get a sugar high, and we all know what happens after that sugar high. They crash, right? That's because the blood sugar spiked up and then it crashed. We want to keep a nice even insulin level and sugar balance throughout the day. So you want to eat foods that are on the lower glycemic index, okay? Now, here's a list. You can Google a list of, glycemic index in foods. You want to consume foods, carbohydrate type foods that are on the lower glycemic index. You can look at vegetables, starchy vegetables as well. They'll give you glycemic index of foods. Choose them towards the lower end. The higher the number is, it's no different than taking a spoonful of sugar, okay? So again, the refined sugars, this goes through refined sugars, the amount of energy in the US food supply, and you look, the number one contributor here is refined sugars, grains, vegetable oils, and dairies. Those are, again, all industrial era foods. Those are new foods to us. They are not wild hunter-gatherer foods. So these foods, these processed foods, these toxic and deficient foods, they comprise more than 70% of the energy that's available to us to consume in a typical Western diet, a typical standard American diet. These foods were unknown to our ancestors that were hunters and gatherers. Bread, cereals, rice, pasta, dairy products, refined vegetable oils, alcohol, fatty meats, the added salts, okay, refined sugars. They weren't there. Now look at this. Down the bottom of this chart, overweight and obesity, there's an inflection point here in around 1980, that arrow. So we look at our overweight and obesity starts to trend upward in these age groups at about 1980. So let's look at what happened, what came on the scene in about 1980. So here's our timeline. We got our years along the bottom from 1800 up to 2000. And if we look just before 1980, late 70s, what came into play here? Look way up at the top of the chart, HFCS. Yes, you know that is high fructose corn syrup, another variation of sugar, but that is in everything. Take out a bottle of ketchup from your refrigerator. Guess what? High fructose corn syrup is in there. You name it, it's in everything. It is messing with the insulin levels and leading to more body fat storage, okay? And it's in abundance in our processed foods. So, sugar bondage. It's literally substance abuse. Everybody's looking for that next high, right? If you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, you know what that's like, what that next high is like, okay? If your environment at home doesn't support cleaning things up, like right now, if you're trying to make some healthy changes in habits over these next 30 days, go to your pantry, get rid of the bad stuff, get everybody on the same page with you, get rid of the temptations from the pantry, from the freezer, from the kitchen, so that you have good supply of sufficient and pure foods, good whole foods to make good choices with, right? If you find that you can't control yourself, get rid of them. It's the only way to do it. All right, 7 dieting pitfalls. Don't drink your calories. Don't just consume, calorie dense drinks. Now, we're going to talk over these 30 days about smoothies, about juicing. Those are good energy dense foods that you're getting great quality nutrition with. We're not talking about those. We're talking about, a shake and alcohol and things of that. Okay. You do have to watch, if you're trying to lose weight, you do have to watch your fruit intake, because again, especially if you have some extra fat on the body, or you're a little bit overweight, the fruit sugars, that can cause a spike to the insulin levels as well and contribute to some fat storage, especially if you're putting them in smoothies, okay, or you're juicing or anything like that, because now you're taking away the effect of the fiber from the fruit to dampen the impact of the sugar on the bloodstream. So pay attention to that. Also, dairy. Try to eliminate and reduce dairy if you're looking to lose weight. We have people who say, I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat meat. Well, many of these people, not only do they not eat meat, they also don't eat vegetables. They're really grainitarians. So I see this happen with a lot of kids in high school, middle school. They're making a stand that they don't want to eat red meat or eat meat for a particular reason. So the bulk of their diet now becomes grains, and they get skin conditions, a lot of acne. They become overweight or obese because of that. So that's great if you want to be a vegetarian, but eat vegetables. Snacking, again, we sometimes forget the calories that are consumed and added into us through just a little nibble here and there, picking through the kitchen. Definitely guilty of that. My wife's out there, we're out there cooking good foods. I'm snacking and nibbling all along the way, just like probably most of you. Post-exercise binging. Sometimes we do a killer workout. We do a long run, a long bike. We do something, we expend a lot of energy, and then we do this big binge meal afterwards because we feel like we've really earned it. And now all of the calories that we expended during that time can sometimes just be consumed within just a few minutes in a post-workout binge. So after your workouts, make sure you're getting good quality nutrition in, and not just working out so you can go have some drinks or have some pizza and ice cream. Okay, skipping breakfast. Unless you are doing intermittent fasting, you should be getting some good quality nutrition into your body early in the morning. That's your fuel for the day. You want to start your day with meditations, memoirs, fuel, fitness, good things for the mind and body to get and set that tone for the rest of your day. So don't skip breakfast unless you're intermittent fasting. So bonfire correct. Right? When we look at the bonfire, how to stoke the fire for fat burning in our bodies, unlimited vegetables, eat as many as you want, abundant, lean, natural meats that are grass-fed and grass-finished, ideally. We've recently been ordering them from a company called Butcher Box. Great quality cuts of meat and seafood, grass-fed and grass-finished beef. It's delicious. I highly recommend checking them out. Some fruit in moderation. If you're trying to lose weight, watch the fruit content, usually for 4 to 6 weeks. Nuts and seeds, again, small amounts of those because those are really energy dense foods. Limited starch and no sugars. Try to eliminate sugars. You want to really feel good, reduce inflammation in your body. Some simple things that you can do. Your water intake, where Dr. Chris started us off. Number 1, work on your sleep rhythms. Number 2, start eliminating sugars, starches. Even if you just start with sugar, get rid of sugar, it's going to be a major difference with how you feel. You'll tend to drop a lot of weight pretty quickly too. So no sugar, because it's an inflammatory agent in the body as well. So this is part of an overall lifestyle. And look, this is a paleo diet. Now, I don't want you to get locked into a particular diet, whether it's keto or paleo, whatever. I want you to eat for life, for long-term, for longevity, not just a short-term quick fix. So what is your why? Is it optimal health? Let's make good lifestyle choices. Let's make changes with our lifestyle, with our best quality of life in mind for the long term, okay? Not short-term quick fixes. So why this paleo diet? Well, we have Paleolithic genes, as we talked about. Our genes dictate what our nutritional needs are. Our genes were shaped over time by environmental experience. They haven't changed in 40,000+ years, and we ate the same diet as our ancestors did for the longest time until this industrial revolution came along, right? And there was no evidence of these diseases that run rampant in our society today. They were not evident with our ancestors in the past. Okay, the agricultural revolution changed that for all of us. So here's what our diet, our food consumption should look like. Unlimited non-starchy vegetables, those are our good carbohydrates. No refined grains, those are the bad carbohydrates. Plenty of fruit and berries, but again, if you're trying to lose some weight, you want to keep those in check, keep the fruit in moderation, minimal amounts. Relatively high in animal protein, and again, preferably grass-fed, grass-finished, moderate amount of good, healthy fats, high in fiber, high in potassium, low in sodium, a net alkaline load. A lot of the foods we consume, I didn't mention this earlier, but a lot of the processed foods, coffee, things like that, creates an acidic environment in our body. And you know what thrives in an acidic environment? Disease. In an alkaline environment, disease can't live, it can't thrive. So we want to create as much alkalinity in our body, and we do that through our diet, primarily through consuming alkaline-like foods. Okay, we want to have our diet rich in phytochemicals, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. From a wellness perspective, there's 4 things that we should be taking on a day-to-day basis. A multivitamin, preferably a whole food-based multivitamin. Number 2 is a probiotic for our digestive system, good immune support. And it's got to be a good quality probiotic that's going to survive the acidity of the stomach and actually get down to the bottle. So get down to the bowel. So probiotic and prebiotic. We need a good quality omega-3 fish oil. And number 4 is vitamin D3. Those are the 4 basics that everybody should be taking on a day-to-day basis. All right. So the zone, I'm not going to go into this too much, but it's similar to paleo. These are ratios. We are not asking in following this program to count calories, to do ratios of macros and things like that. Just simple choices and strategies. As you go further along and you're losing weight and you're gaining progress towards your goals, you can dial this stuff in and really get nitty gritty on it. But right now, just make simple strategic changes and you're going to notice really major improvements with your health and how you feel. Okay, so where's the plants, the fat, and the protein? So when we look at our meals, sometimes people think if I'm quote unquote dieting or changing my food consumption, it's going to be boring. Well, look at these foods here. There's nothing boring about that. These are some delicious foods, and we have a lot of options to consume that is healthy foods to provide great, sufficient, and pure nutrition to our body. So again, you can do veggie omelets with some sausage or some meats. You can do egg salads, the avocado in there, bacon, tomatoes. Look at salads with avocado and vegetables in there. I'm getting hungry. I'm going to start to drool here in a minute. Paleo pancakes with fruit and berries in the mornings. Look at that plate. A lot of vegetables filled up, loaded up with vegetables. You got a little protein in the center. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of flavor, a lot of variety there. You can use apple cider vinegar, olive oil. You can use red wine vinegar. Great for your digestion. Again, lots of vegetables, and you've got your protein sources in the middle. Okay, this is not boring food, my friends. These are just some ideas. We're going to dive deeper into nutrition next time, but again, you've got seafood, avocados, things of that nature. So the do's and don'ts with our foods. Our do's: non-starchy vegetables, some fruit, meat, poultry, fish, range-fed eggs, natural fats, some nuts and seeds, lots of water, right? At least half our body weight in ounces of water every single day. Now the don'ts: get rid of the refined carbohydrates, the cereal grains, the sweeteners, the artificial sweeteners. Those wreak havoc on the body. Bad vegetable oils, dairy products, soda, juice, and alcohol. You want to lose weight, you want to get healthy and feel good, eliminate them. Now look, you've heard me say in our accountability group, if you've listened to me speak before, I always will teach progress, not perfection. I will never expect perfection. Nobody ever expects perfection because we can't attain it. If you take the information that we're sharing with you and you apply this to your life and you do that 80% of the time, and 20% of the time you leave room for some indulgences and some fun stuff, your body can tolerate that. Your body can handle that. It can adapt to that. What happens though is when we reverse those ratios, where we're eating well 20% of the time and we're indulging and binging on junky foods 80% of the time, that's going to lead us to that chronic low-grade inflammation and health issues: obesity, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, all that stuff we've been talking about. Okay, so big line number 4: just work it off at the gym. Again, we cannot outrun our fork. We cannot out-exercise or out-train our food choices. So it's a lie. Don't think that you can do that. It's a lose-lose battle every time. What's happened over time, though, if you think about this, this screenshot here, wild human in captivity. You think about this, we are hunter-gatherers by nature and by genetics. Our bodies are designed to move and think and function in a gravitational environment on a regular basis, expending a lot of energy to get our food. And so what's happened over time is we've become more and more sedentary. We literally have become wild humans living in captivity. And just for a second, think about this. If we take any animal from its natural habitat and we put them in a zoo, an unnatural habitat, captivity, over time, the most common things that those animals suffer from, anger, aggression, diabetes, heart disease, things of that nature, very similar diseases as us humans who are living in captivity in the modern, unnaturally modern, stressful world today experience. So we need to move our body to compensate for the sedentary lifestyles and the chronic stresses of the modern world that we have today. All right, so our genome kind of dictates what our movement requirements are and what our nutrition requirements are. But remember, our lifestyle and environment, our choices will largely influence which genes get turned on and turned off. So as we work on eating, moving, and thinking well to create a better, healthy lifestyle, each of these components are important. Small change every day, repeated over time, produce major results. Progress, not perfection, is the key here. So this is kind of setting the foundation for what we're going to dive into over these next few weeks. Now, our energy balance, remember, our caloric needs, our energy in has to be less than our energy out. Our energy out, our exercise, our basal metabolic rate plus our exercise, we should be burning off more calories than what we're taking in to create a caloric deficit. So that's how you lose weight. We'll go into that a little bit more later, but in our next workshop. But intake has to be greater or less than output to change the hormonal impact on our body. So again, we've got thrifty genes. They want to conserve and store energy. So remember, you cannot out-train your fork. I mentioned before about 80-20 principle. Well, you have 70% diet, 30% gym. Your physique, your abs, your whatever it is with your goals, the majority of that doesn't necessarily have to be a gym, but it's through exercise. If you're looking for one magic pill that can have the greatest influence on your health and your vitality, it's exercise. All right, so our ancestors exerted themselves daily. We covered this already. We want to rebalance the hormones with regular exercise. Now listen, very important. You only have to exercise on the days that you eat. So exercise, do some kind of movement every day. Vary the intensity of it though. You don't need to do intense exercise every day. Some days could just be a stroll, a light walk, just to move your body. It could be a recovery. Other days, exertion is the key. You want to do something though every day to sweat. Do something to exert yourself, even if it's just for 30 minutes. Now look, there's going to be days that we're crunched for time. And here's what I want you to do. Those days that you're crunched for time, to maintain the pattern and the habit, do something, even if it's for 10 or 15 minutes. Just do something, even if it's exercising on commercials in front of the TV. Do something to keep the habit and the routine and the rhythm, and you'll be more likely to stay on track with your goals that way. Doesn't matter what you do. Again, like I said, I'm not a big fan of having people go to the gym and be in machines or on machines. Kayak, bike, walk, skate, row, hike, run, swim, whatever it is that interests you, and mix it up. Body weight workouts, push-ups, sit-ups, yoga, Pilates, I don't care what it is. Doesn't matter, just move. Do what excites you and interests you and is going to keep you engaged and wanting to go back. Number 5, sleep has got nothing to do with it. The more stressed out we are, less we sleep. So check this out. As I mentioned before, our stress response, that fight or flight response, how are we doing on time here? We're a couple minutes over. I'm going to wrap this up here pretty quick. So hang in there with me, okay? When we're stressed out, our fight or flight response, here's what happens. Our blood pressure goes up, our heart rate goes up. That increases our muscle tone. Remember, fight or flight, our body's escaping, wants to escape to safety. Our digestion gets upset because our body's thinking of pumping blood to muscles to get us out of there. It doesn't want to digest and absorb and assimilate foods during that time. Reproduction and sex drive goes down because guess what? We're not thinking about reproducing when we're escaping a wild animal. Decreased serotonin levels, that's a brain chemical, that's a feel-good chemical in your brain. It increases your sensory systems. You're more on alert. Eyes are open, dilated, you're more on alert. Your fear and anxiety goes up. So that's what, as you get more stressed out, like everybody's been these past couple months, fear and anxiety goes through the roof. Your insulin sensitivity is down regulated and your blood sugar goes up. Now, what that does next is it decreases the good cholesterol and increases your bad cholesterol because, listen, if we're stressed out, if we're in fight or flight, and we get swiped by a wild animal and we're bleeding, our body wants to produce a clotting factor to stop us from bleeding. That's called cholesterol. It's a good thing. Your body needs that. So the cholesterol goes up. It's produced for coping with stress, hormones, and repair. Clotting factors will increase. And what happens, the cascade of events results in a down-regulated immune response. This is an adaptive physiology. Chronic stress crashes your immune system. It's a big factor why people get sick, and more people are getting sick today. All right. Social stress, the pressures of our unnatural modern lifestyle contributes to that, leading to our sleep deprivation. Our cortisol levels involved with that cascade of events I just went through, our cortisol levels get messed up. They're unnatural in our sleep-wake cycle because of unnatural lighting. And back in the day, we used to rise and sleep according to the sunset. Now we've got electricity that can keep our brain wired for 24 hours a day. This will influence the hormones in the body like leptin, which increases our appetite, ghrelin, which increases the appetite, cortisol, which makes you start to crave carbohydrates, and insulin, which makes you store body fat. The best practices, circadian rhythms, 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Now, some of you are laughing at that. 6 to 8 hours, 7 might be the sweet spot. You have to find your sweet spot. But your room should be dark, quiet, comfortable. Get technology off your nightstand if you want to sleep well. Get rid of technology before going to bed for at least an hour. Let your brain start to unwind a little bit. Write, journal, read, whatever. Have a conversation, play a game, something like that. Create a household culture of that so everybody gets in the same routine of things. Eat more, sleep more. You'll have a robust energy. You'll have more sex. You'll be happier. You'll be sexier. You'll be funnier. You'll be wittier, more charming when you sleep better. All right. Remember, healthy comes in all sizes and shapes. This is not about having, a body that we're going to be on the front of a magazine. I don't really care about that. I want functional health. I want strong, healthy. I don't care what size or shape your body is. I want you functional and healthy for the long term. So health comes in all different packages. As long as you're doing what you should be doing in your lifestyle, you're going to get to your best body weight, and your best shape will take over time based on the exercises and activities that you're doing. So 15 pounds healthier over these 15 weeks is pretty doable. It's a pound a week. So you're expending 500 calories extra than what you're burning off every day, or what you're consuming every day, okay? So that's a pretty simple thing to do. Use your smartwatches, activity, fitness activity apps, things like that. But you can measure your body composition, your amount of your muscle mass to fatty tissue, your optimal ranges with BMI. You can use a scale. You can use waist to hip measurement, body fat, a pair of pants, whatever. It doesn't matter. But do something to monitor and set a goal for yourself over this 30 days and then and beyond, maybe 12 to 15 weeks, depending on what the goal is. If you've gained that quarantine 15 and you want to get it off, these are simple, easy strategies to do, okay? So weight loss diets are not effective. It creates a yo-yo lifestyle, and it creates more long-term wear and tear in the body and health issues. These are some resources that you can check out on the website from some of the things I pulled together for tonight on the paleo diet, on Bonfire Health, on CrossFit. Mark's Daily Apple is a great website, paleo cookbooks. Now, also, if you are not part of the accountability group, go to Facebook. If your chiropractor invited you here, go to your chiropractor's page. You will see the Accountability Project. Ask for an invite. Click join. We'll put you in the group. Follow along with us. Day 3 is tomorrow. Day 3 tomorrow. Dr. Howard Dennis is doing that for us. So I know Dr. Howie's going to be bringing some great information to us tomorrow. So please join in on that. Now listen, next week, next Wednesday at 7 p.m., we're going to do specifically the workshop on fuel, our nutrition, a deep dive on nutrition, all nutrition next week. Okay. Shopping, cooking, planning, preparing, great deep dive on nutrition. The week after, which is June 10th, so next week, June 3rd, 7 p.m., same bat time, same bat channel. Week after, June 10th, Air, How You Move, and then Spark, How You Think is on June 17th. That's 30 days of great content and information to support the Accountability Project. So I hope that you get registered. I hope to see you there. Share this information with your friends and family members. These the webinars may be available as a recorded webinar. You might be able to see a link for that later, but go back through, make notes, implement small changes each day and each week. Follow along, share with us in the Accountability Project some of your successes and your wins. Make sure in the Accountability Project that you're posting under the comments for that day, so that way we can keep things organized. And once again, share this with people. Invite people to join you on this journey over these next 30 days. Keep it going for the next 12 weeks after that. And let's all get healthier together. This is the only way we come out of this time in a better place than the way we went into it. Everybody's scared, stressed out, anxious. We've disengaged from routines of regular daily life, and it's time to re-engage now and get healthier as a community and keep everybody accountable together. So I'm grateful that you are all here with me tonight. I think our technology supported everything and everything went well. And I will look forward to hearing and seeing any questions that you post, either in the Accountability Group Project, the Accountability Project group, or on the Facebook pages. So that's it for tonight. I'm a couple minutes over, but I appreciate your energy, your input, your focus, and your willingness to implement these things over the next 30 days. All right, you guys are great. Dr. Gary, over and out. Have a blessed night, people.